Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm holding this press conference to clarify some points with regard what happened today in the General Assembly meeting called for by the PGA. As you are all aware, the PGA has violated all kinds of rules and procedures related to the mechanisms agreed upon by the international community on how to undertake the General Assembly business. The PGA did not consult with the Syrian government in advance of this meeting. This is the first violation. And the PGA violated his commitments in his capacity as President of the General Assembly when he cut off the media coverage of the meeting, in spite of the fact that, as you are all aware, he sent to all the reporters through his spokesperson a note informing all of you that the meeting is open to the media and to the reporters, as well as to the UNTV and Webcast. And this is a document issued by his spokesperson and sent to all of you, certifying the accuracy of what I am saying. This is the second violation. The third violation is that he prearranged a prefabricated meeting to defame Syria through orchestrating a session where only Ambassador of Saudi Arabia spoke, plus Kofi Annan, as if this meeting was pre-scheduled and pre-arranged in order to give the floor exclusively to the point of view of Qatar through the PGA himself, as well as to the ambassador of Saudi Arabia. This is the third violation, meaningly that he didn't give the opportunity to the other ambassadors to address the meeting and to address the audience. That was the third violation. The fourth violation is related to the way he undertook the business of the session, of the meeting. He ignored, condoned in a very ridiculous manner my repetitive request to take the floor on a point of order, then on a second point of order, then when I asked to take the floor at the end. That was the fourth violation. The fifth violation is that, and in my humble opinion, that was the most important one he made. When I asked him to call on the meeting to observe a minute of silence for the souls of the victims, all the victims that have fallen down in Syria so far. Not only he rejected this request, not only he ignored this simple request, but he avoided even to answer appropriately my question and my request. Meaning that the purpose of the meeting for him was how to defame the reputation of Syria, not to help stopping the violence in Syria and to put an end to the unrest in some hot spots in the country. So these violations have confirmed altogether our point of view, as well as many ambassadors' opinions, that the PGA has misused his post as PGA to impose and dictate on the member states the Qatari and Saudi agendas, rather than to deal, seriously speaking, with the so-called Syrian crisis in implementation of Mr. Kofi Annan's six-points plan. By the way, Mr. Kofi Annan, in his introductory remarks, gave credit to the Syrian government's commitment towards his plan, and he said it in a very clear-cut way, very crystal-cut way, that the Syrian government is fully committed to the success of the mission. So today's meeting was really a pity. And the PGA has set a precedent, a very bad precedent, in the business of the General Assembly. He will have, and his country with him, to bear the responsibility of his acts. Even when the Russian ambassador asked for a point of order, and he politely indicated to the PGA that he didn't set the rules and procedures from the beginning, and he asked the PGA whether his rulings is related to the meeting, to stick to question and answers exercise or to make statements. He didn't even answer that. Number one, because he is not qualified enough to know the rules and procedures. Number two, because he didn't want to engage, politically speaking, with a heavyweight in the United Nations. Number three, because he prefabricated all this meeting in order to give the floor only to Saudi Arabia ambassadors, as well as to himself and the ambassador of the European Union. By the way, according to the rules and procedures set up by the General Assembly himself under the chairmanship of that president, he should have given the floor to the Russian ambassador before giving the floor to the European Union ambassador. So this is a sixth violation on his side. I am in your hands.
I'm sorry, the UNCA always goes first.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, on behalf of the United Nations Correspondents Association for this conference. And my question is this: when was presented the other day by the PGA this meeting or this section of the was simply saying that it was 2 year Kofi Annan. Now you're educated us about all this procedure, who comes first, Russian. But bottom line, you said that there was a presentation, and I consider personally that the presentation, to hear from Kofi Annan, we know the Qatari position for the President of the General Assembly position, and we heard the Secretary General new position after listening from Kofi Annan. What's your point to engage in a strategic duel against the Qatari or regarding the legitimacy of having the floor or the substance of the issue that is the Syrian crisis?
Thank you very much. I will engage with you on all the very important points you have raised. But first of all, the purpose of my meeting with you today is to clarify my government's position, as well as to show to all of you that the PGA is a biased person, deceiving all of us, cheating on his mandate, overcoming the rules and procedures inappropriately, and serving his national agenda rather than representing the collective agenda of the plenary. Otherwise, he wouldn't have cut off the media coverage, and he wouldn't have asked the reporters to leave, and he wouldn't have had to stop me while reading my statement. This is why I said he committed a serial of violations while presiding over the destiny of the plenary. This is very important as a starting point to assess what's going on. Then why he called for that meeting as quickly as possible. He did it because, honestly speaking, I think he didn't expect the Security Council members to reach a consensus over the content of the presidential statement. He was betting on the fact that the Security Council members will not reach a consensus on the content of that PR. When he understood late night yesterday, that there is a chance that the members would reach an understanding, a common understanding over the PR content, then he moved to declare his intention for this meeting today. Another point, as I said at the beginning, if he had any slight good faith, he would have respected his own instructions of calling on the reporters and the media and the UN TV and the webcasts to come to the meeting. This is his own instructions sent to all of you. But you know what? They didn't want to give Syria, through my humble person, any chance to address the audience and to explain how committed we are towards the 6 points plan of Mr. Kofi Annan. And he didn't want anybody to hear from me, through me, any criticism of the policies of his country, as well as Saudi Arabia and Turkey, who organized the meeting in Istanbul.
Pamela Fall from CBS News. Mr. Ambassador, could you give us an update on the Syrian withdrawal of forces and the implementation of the Annan plan?
Mr. Annan got on a regular basis, almost on a daily basis, detailed information from the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Damascus on the progress in implementing the 6 points plan. And Mr. Annan today, in his briefing to the General Assembly plenary, confirmed that the Syrian government is cooperating with him, fully cooperating with him, in order to implement the 6 points